right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I have no idea where in this world you are at today. All I know is I am excited about today. Like I say, every time we want these, I actually get that there are folks that are in my life, that are in my world, that are so interesting, that are so fun, that we get to just talk about their lives. And so Jason is not like any other person that you've talked to or we talked to, and he's not going to be the same as anybody else we're going to talk to. But what we have today, we talk about hypnosis, and you don't know anything about hypnosis. And if you do, then you're going to be in a treat. If you don't, you're going to be in for a treat because there, he even tells me he's able to do stuff online. It's not like you have to be there and you have to lay down and I don't think he's going to ask us, and hypnotize us today that we're going to go outside and go to our bank and get some money and then send it to an address that tells us to send it to, and that's how he creates his wealth. That's not going to happen today. But he's also a magician. And so you might see in here, I may disappear for a little bit and then I'll come back because he's really, really good at what he does. And so when we think about living boldly with purpose and we think about knowing our purpose and what that's going to be, sometimes I say, well, I was called to do this. I'm 61 years old now, and I'm just coming into all the things that I've done in my life to know what I believe I'm meant to do in my life. Well, some of us know what we're meant to do when we're kids. And when I was able to talk to Jason, I think that, he said, hey, I knew a lot of what I was going to do when I was a little bit or little bitty, whatever you want to call yourself when you're a child. I had no clue. I thought I wanted to be a stuntman, and I did, but it didn't happen. And then I decided I didn't want to go to school, but I did, and that did happen. And so I'm still figuring out and drawing my lines. And I knew I wanted to be a dad, but I didn't think I was going to be a dad at 8. What about you? What is your purpose? What are the things you're doing? Well, hopefully, if success leaves clues, you're going to get some clues today. So, Jason, thank you for being on today. Thank you for being willing to spend time with us,
Thanks,
being able to tell us about your life and how it works and all those wonderful things. And I'm going to, tell your story. Let your story do what it does, and take as much time as you want. I usually tell my guests, you could make it up, and I won't know the difference. However, your parents and your family will know, and so if you make it up, then you're in trouble because they're going to come after you because they're probably going to watch this. But just have fun. Tell your story. Tell the highlights of your story, the best parts. Some people tell, hey, this happened to me too, and I learned this lesson. And so wherever you want, it's your story. I can't wait to hear it, and then we'll chop it up a little bit after that and just have some fun while we're together on this show today. So thank you for being on. The floor is yours, and let's go.
Awesome, Brian. Thanks for having me. So yes, I am Jason Palter, and I am a certified hypnotist. I'm the owner of Greater Toronto Hypnosis Centre. And as you said, I can do this online. Actually, since the pandemic, the vast majority of what I do is online. I am rarely in the office anymore, and that means I can take clients from anywhere. And I think you and I were joking about when we were first talking. I said, if I could have a phone number for the International Space Station, I could do hypnosis with them up there just as effectively as if we were in person. So, yeah, to the point that you made, in some ways, I did know what I was going to do when I was younger, but I think like a lot of us, we don't know. We have a feeling, we know the direction we're going to head in, but to your point that you said, yes, my background is I am a professional magician, corporate speaker. I'm an actor. I do voiceover work. I did my first paid magic show when I was 10 years old, and magic was all I did. It put me through university when I was a kid. That's what I did for a living. And, it was great. I loved it. I mean, it's great. I did big shows. I was able to appear on television. You and I discussed, I think you'd even mentioned I was on the Penn and Teller Fool Us show, the season finale a few years ago. I think you said you saw me on that too. So, or at least remembered me from that when I described what I did. And, when we talk about stuff in the past, since high school, that's when I really started to notice people just talk to me. In high school, they called me the therapist. I had girls and guys who would say, God, Jason, you get it. You're easy to approach. And they talk to me about their problems at home and their problems with their homework and their sexual issues. And that was even before I was sexually active. I had to sort of help them, got to figure that out. Right. So anyway, and I always thought, you know what, if I wasn't a magician, if I wasn't a performer, I'd become a psychotherapist. I just didn't really want to go to school, back to school for all those years to do the training and to do it. So I had a major life change 14 years ago in 2012. I split from my first marriage. I'm actually remarried. Actually, tomorrow is my 7th wedding anniversary, so that's very exciting. But I had to split, a very major change. Thank you, Ryan. Thanks, man. And I thought, you're in the middle of a divorce, you're going through trying to rebuild your life. And I was talking to a friend of mine who's known me since we've been kids. And she's a very successful hypnotist up here, just further west of me. And she said, my husband and I feel terrible for what you're going through right now. I want to help you rebuild your life, Jason. You've always been everyone's helper. You've always connected with people. I want to train you in hypnosis. I think it would really dovetail with what you do because, Jason, you understand people. You understand how to help them, and you like to help them. So my first response to her was, I said, well, I don't want to make people quack like a duck on stage. I don't want to perform it on stage. I do magic on stage. She goes, no, in an office like I'm doing. So I started training with her. And in May of 2013, so just celebrated my 13th anniversary in business, 13 years ago, I opened up my office. So I'm still a performer, but barely been on stage in the past few years because of the pandemic. But I really love this sort of connection that I do in helping people really affect changes in their life, whether it's quitting smoking, working on their stress, losing weight, getting over a fear, confidence, performance anxieties, pain management. There's so many different things that hypnosis can do. And as you and I were discussing, hypnosis is all about dealing with the subconscious mind. And, it's funny, I had always performed with hypnotists on stage in theater shows and that sort of thing, but I'd never really paid much attention to it. But in my mind, I thought it was a bit of, voodoo or mind control or something like that. And sure enough, I learned very quickly during the training, it is not like that at all. It's nothing like you see on TV and the movies. It's none of that stuff. So yeah, that sort of brings me to present day.
Gotcha. So family, that kind of stuff. Did you have brothers and sisters and all that kind of wonderful things?
I do.
You hypnotize them when they were kids to do things you wanted them to do.
No, that's what I'm saying. If I wonder if I was a hypnotist back then, what it would have done. Absolutely. So I have a sister who's just under 2 years younger than me. And I have a brother. Oh, he's my half brother, actually. And he's 27 years younger than me. Now, to him, when he was a baby, absolutely did magic tricks to him all the time. And he just loved it. My sister, I would practice stuff with her on for sure. But yeah, I wonder if I was a hypnotist back then, if I would have helped them. I'll tell you, I probably would have used it to help them, learn how to get into that deep state of relaxation so you can make changes and all that. But no, I wonder what I would have done. That's a good question. No one's ever asked me that before.
Yeah, as I think through that process, I don't think that kids should probably be hypnotists because there's these levels that we go through as kids that we're just, we try to be nice, but we try to take advantage of everything we're learning, as we're going. You think of back in junior high or when you're in 6th and 7th and 8th grade, and there's always going to be a kid that's mean to you, right? There's always going to be a kid that is trying to feel better about themselves, and the only way they know how to do it is by taking you down a peg. So imagine if you had that ability to be able to, oh my gosh, how would that
I would have run that schoolyard. My God. All right. Yeah. I think you're right. It's a really good point.
Gosh. That is so cool. But you learned it later on. So maybe walk me through your identity as, Jason Palter, the kid that now, because was there an expectation? Because a lot of parents, and I don't know how yours were, are always scared if their kids go into some type of entertainment, go into some type of, and they go, well, no, you got to go to school. You got to go be an accountant, or you got to be, go get a regular job because we don't know if that's going to work out. How was that for you?
So my parents split when I was 3, so I have vague memories of them never being together. To be fair, excuse me, they were always supportive of what I
Okay.
did, but they were not remotely in the arts. So they were supportive, but I think deep down as parents, they're still concerned about, okay, but as you to your point, are you going to be able to make a living at this? Like, this is really good and it's great and you're doing stuff, but are you going to be able to survive on this sort of thing? And certainly as an entertainer, as a magician, I was very fortunate. I mean, I did my first, as I say, my first paid show when I was 10 years old, and I was making money when I was a kid, and all through high school and university, and even though I still went to university, I was a magician, but um, I think uh, there was that support, but I think just like most parents was concerned. Now I have heard stories of the other side. Do not get into entertainment. You shouldn't be doing this, and you got to go, as you said, you got to go be a lawyer, a doctor, an accountant, whatever. Go get a real
Mm.
job. And this is, I mean, I always jokingly say I've never had a real job, but everyone says, well, it is a real job. But Brian, when you're self-employed, it's different, especially in the arts. It's very, very different.
Yeah, I can imagine. I have a son now that he's a rapper. So he goes out and he does shows and he raps and he's now 30 years old. And one of the things that, he got a track scholarship to go to a school in Nebraska. And I'm thinking, okay, go finish your school, get you, in his sophomore year, he decides to leave. Like he decides to leave to come back home to pursue his dream. And I want to be a supportive and wanted to be supportive. I'm just like, but somebody's paying for school. Somebody's helping you go through this process. But at the same time, I get it. In the middle of Nebraska, there's probably not very many rapping gigs and that kind of stuff.
Wouldn't
And
think
he's been
so.
able to push it out. And, I want to, like I said, support him the most I can. But I know for him, that was had to be a big leap of faith. I mean, he
Yeah.
sees his dad as an entrepreneur, right? And I'm doing my own thing. And when he was little, I think I might have still been a teacher, but not for very long. And then I have my own business, and so he sees that his whole life. So why would I expect him to do something different? Than what I was he was seeing me as an example. And so it's
It's
kind of cool you were
true.
able to do that. And you didn't have to have a paper route. You didn't have to wash dishes at a restaurant. You didn't have
N-
to, you were able to make money as a teenager doing something
That
you absolutely probably loved.
for sure, and fortunate enough to stay home, excuse me, to be able to live at home and be able to sort of pursue this sort of thing. But yes, you're right. Most artists are, you're starting a business. You have to have a side hustle on something else that's going to be. But I don't know about you, Brian, and what, excuse me, you can relate to this, but there is some sacrifice. I mean, look, I started performing magic in restaurants when I was 17.
Okay.
So for all through the end of high school and into university, I was performing magic in a restaurant 3 nights a week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday night for 4 hours a night. 11 p.m. I get out, and all my friends are already out at the bars, at the clubs, at parties,
Oh,
doing whatever. And so I would have to find, the occasional friend to go and hang out with and go and get something to eat. So the flip side is that I never learned how to drink, never learned how to party. I bought my first brand new car at 17 years old because I was working on these weekends and able to afford it and living at home. And so I often wonder about that with myself and think, sometimes I feel a little buttoned up, so to speak. And I wonder if I would be, if I had gone out to actually rebel and actually had gone to
mhm.
party and do this stuff instead of honing my craft. And there is two different sides to it because honing my craft provided an income. I was able to do things that other friends weren't and really build my career, really sort of build on the magic side, doing that and build my style. I call myself a comic magician. So my stuff is very improvisational based and comedic because I just learned to get very fast with the drunk customers and the drunk guests in the restaurant. And so you learn how to move very quickly with that. And that just sort of established a style for me. So there's that side of it. And the other side is, well, I didn't really get to go out and do all these other things. But I hear you. I hear what you're saying on that.
Yeah, so I'm just picturing you like out at the university and doing your things and going, "Hey, Tuesday night, it's party time!" And everybody's like, "What are you talking about? We got class tomorrow."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Can't wait till the
That's
weekend.
true.
Oh
My
my
schedule is
gosh!
what totally whacked, totally off.
So you go to university,
Yeah.
because that's what we all do, right? That's
Uh-huh.
that's like what we do. What are you studying? What is like? You already know what you want to do, but now you have to study this stuff that like geometry. Like why do I need to go to a geometry class or whatever it is that they're telling
So
you got to do?
for sure, and because I acted and I hadn't really at that point, excuse me, thought about voice and more thinking about it in later years. I went to in Toronto. It was called Ryerson University, and it's now called Metropolitan Toronto University. They've changed name, but I went. The program is called Radio and Television Arts,
Okay.
RTA. Everybody knew it, so it still exists. But I think they've added an extra year since I was in university, and that's where I got my BA. Or back then they didn't. They called it a BAA, a Bachelor of Applied Arts, because Ryerson's specialty was you're in class, but you're also actually out doing the stuff applying it. So it's applied as well. So I was there thinking, I want to get into producing. I want to get into radio, something like that. And I didn't. I mean, I did just didn't end up happening. I just sort of went back to the magic and then eventually, got an agent and, that sort of thing. So, but yeah, that's what I went to school. It was not sort of a traditional, go to get a BA in English or philosophy or something like that. I didn't do that.
Yeah, mine was in communications because I want to do broadcast communications.
Right.
My cousin was a radio, DJ announcer, morning show person, and I'm like, I want to do what he's doing, and then I ended up doing more journalism type stuff. But I got to run track, and it was great getting this degree in communications. I did 5 years because I was an athlete and had to redshirt 1 year so that I could be better, be a better athlete for my senior year. And so I got another degree in physical education as well. And so
Okay.
that's how I kind of started off. But I had zero, like you. I had, well, you probably wanted to go to school. I wanted nothing to do with college. I didn't want anything at all. I wanted to be a stuntman. I wanted to go to
Mhm.
Hollywood. In fact, the college that I picked was about a half hour from where Hollywood was because I figured I would leave after my freshman year and I would
Good
go be a
idea.
stuntman.
Sneak
Uh,
over.
but then it ended up being a good place for me in education. But my gosh, that is so cool that you were able to then work through and do what you love. Now, what hypnosis came in here somehow because you're a magician, and I'm sure at the restaurant you're not hypnotizing everybody during your shows in college. You had to learn at some point, hey, this might be something I want to add to what I do, or something other magicians do. How did hypnosis jump
It,
into
as I
this?
say, it was never a consideration. I would watch hypnotists on stage if I was doing a theater show with them, and I'd be the opener, they'd be the closer, etc. And I didn't really give much thought to it. I'd watch, people getting up on stage, acting crazy, can't find their belly buttons, whatever happened, whatever the hypnotist did. But I was never interested in doing that. And I hadn't really thought much about hypnosis other than in an excuse me, in an entertainment fashion, but had no interest of it. So as I say, when this friend approached me 14 years ago to say, look, I want to help you through what you're going through. My husband and I want to help you and train you in this. I was like, really? I could do this? She goes, oh my gosh, everyone talks to you, you've been helping. I said, really? So I said, well, let me think about it. And I started to ask a few of my close friends, one of whom was even a doctor. I said, could you honestly see me forget on stage? I don't want to do it on stage. I want to do therapeutic, like in an office. Can you see me doing it? All of them said, oh my God. And the doctor especially said, Jason, this is what I think you were born to do. I'm like, really? All right. So listen, I'm going through a divorce. I'm personal change in my life. I'm trying to figure stuff out with my kids, do whatever. And I go, all right, well, I'll train in hypnosis. Little did I know that this had become sort of primarily what I do, especially through the pandemic. And I love it. It's just it's really interesting, but never thought anything of it before. And I think even watching other performers on stage, I think a lot of it I thought was sort of crazy stuff. And I think maybe people get scared by it and they're afraid they're going to lose their memories. And then, of course, it's only when you start to learn something, about whatever topic or thing you're unsure of, you really learn what the truth is. And you learn about that it's safe and that, that it's not mind control and there's no ticking stopwatch or a swirl or none of that crap, so.
My exposure to hypnosis has been pretty limited. I'll just say that right now. I've seen movies like Now You See Me, and Woody Harrelson just walks around, and then people, like you said, forgets a moment of his life or whatever it is that we see on stage. But what you're talking about is therapeutic hypnosis, where you actually are able to help people.
Yes.
Whether it's trauma that they're trying to get through or it's a better life that they're wanting. Maybe kind of explain a little bit about hypnosis to us, for those like myself who don't really understand what it is or even the process of what goes on.
Yeah. My biggest uphill battle as a magician is trying to convince clients what I do is not a $100 kids party show. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's not what I do. I'm a corporate, I'm a theater performer. That's what I do. My biggest uphill battle with hypnotist clients is to get them to understand that they're not going to be barking like a dog or giving up their bank code number or anything like that. So, and I should actually clarify that. If they want to give up their bank code, they will. All hypnosis is self. Okay. Because people say, are you going to make me rob a bank? I said, well, look, if you say to me, Jason, I'm robbing a bank in about 3 weeks, I got to work on my self-confidence. Can you help me? Yeah, in theory, I could do that because it's something that you want to do. But with hypnosis, you're never going to be made to say or do anything that you don't want to say or do. So conscious mind, subconscious mind. And our subconscious is where we hide our emotions, our fears, our habits. And the conscious mind sort of acts like a barrier, a boundary. But when we get into this relaxed state that we call hypnosis, I can now get past your conscious mind into your subconscious mind and start delivering you positive messages. So as I say, you make the changes from the inside out. I can't give you a negative message. Even if I try, your brain will just reject it. So again, if I said to you, give me your PIN code for your bank card, if you wanted to, you would, but you're not going to say or do anything you don't want to say or do.
Okay.
And this is the thing. It's a deep state of relaxation. It's very similar to meditation. And most of my clients have never been hypnotized before. And when I ask them if they've ever meditated, they go, well, I've tried. But most of them have never even done that before. And it's just getting into that deep state. You are aware of everything going on around you. You will remember everything. And if you want to stop, all you would do is open up your eyes and you would just stop. But what I say is you don't want to stop because it's so relaxing. It feels so good. My favorites clients are the ones that are so, I'm not going to say, I guess skeptical and almost nervous. Like what's going to happen? And then we do our first session. And then afterwards I say to them, are you still nervous? And of course they go, no, that was like the most relaxed I've ever been in my life. When do we do it again? So that's the best way to describe it. And when people say, well, what does it feel like? I'll give the example like hypnosis. I'll give like meditation. And I would give the example of going to the dentist. So Brian, have you ever gone to the dentist and had the laughing gas and nitrous oxide? Have you ever had that before?
No, they just keep giving me a shot in my gums all the time.
Right. But they never. So some people will have the nitrous oxide, the gas before. It sort of makes you a little bit loopy. But if anyone,
I would love to have that. No, they just.
And then you get that mark on from their heel as they're right there on your face. Right. I'm teasing. But if anyone's who's listening who's had the gas at the dentist before, you'll be able to relate to this. When you're having the gas, same as when you're meditating, you're aware of everything going on. If you wanted to stop in the case of meditation, you just get off the mat and walk out of the room. Or in the case of the gas, you would just pull off the mask and walk out. But in both examples, you don't want to because it's so relaxing. It's so good. So that's what I say. It's the same thing with hypnosis. If you wanted to stop hypnosis, you would just open up your eyes. So it's when you're in that deep state of relaxation, again, you're aware of everything. And it's almost like you're not quite asleep, but not quite awake. It's sort of in that, it's sort of between that. So because I explain to people that hypnosis is a natural state, we go in and out of. It's like when you're, when my favorite example is always when you're driving or you're out for a walk. Or in the case of driving, you get home, you turn off the key in the garage, or you're walking around and you stop and go, did I walk by that big office building? I don't remember. Or in the case of driving, did I just drive 7 blocks? I don't quite remember. Or you're on the highway and you blow right by your exit because you're almost daydreaming, because of our subconscious mind is always working in the background. Those are states of hypnosis. If you're I don't know, if you're ever watching TV and someone comes up and calls you behind you 2 or 3 times before you realize that they're standing there, that's another state of hypnosis. Because again, you're just so focused on what you're watching, everyday life just sort of disappears. It's almost like you're just daydreaming in a way. So these are just examples of hypnosis. It's completely safe. I just explain to people the worst thing that's going to happen in hypnosis is you're going to fall asleep, which isn't really a bad thing, right? Yeah. So
does that happen when you're doing it and people are just snoring all of a sudden and you've been talking to them?
So it happens rarely when we're working together. So everything I do is a program. It's not a single session, although many clients will start to notice changes within a single session, but everything I do is a program. And in sessions, some people will get so relaxed that they will feel like they're going to fall asleep. So one of the things that we work on is giving you techniques to help you pull yourself back to that sort of partial waking state. And so as I say, you'll get positive benefits of hypnosis if you're asleep, but you get more positive benefits if you stay awake. I have only ever had one client in all the years I've been doing this on video that fell asleep. And I just, no matter how, it was once. I mean, when you think about 13 years, one client only, and you know what? We just had to disconnect because I had another client, and I sent him an email. I said, I bet you had a great nap. Give me a call when you're done. And sure enough, a couple hours later, whatever, when he finally got around to it, he wrote me back and said, well, that was like the most relaxing nap I've ever had. And so that's just, you'll just naturally wake up when you're ready. So with that client, the next time, the technique I did is, he was doing it lying in a bed. So he was very comfortable and cozy. So we just made sure that for the future sessions, he was more sitting upright. He never slept. He never fell asleep again. So that was just something we had to work on.
Oh my gosh. So cool.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you're like, the expectation that folks should have when meeting with you is like, I show up this one way. Are they thinking this is what I would like to be, or this is the person I would love to change into? And
Yes.
Therefore, through the hypnosis process, you help them achieve that? They still have to do some work afterwards, though, right? I mean, it's not like you just do it and all of a sudden they're that no other person, right? There's some.
It's not about, and it's a good question because, again, what we see in the movies, what we see on TV. So it's not about changing the person. It's about enhancing what you're doing. Look, whatever you're doing, the habit that you're doing, the way that you're living, something that you feel you're missing out of your life. If it's not right, it's not wrong. It's just where you are at that point in your life. But you've come to a decision to say, this isn't serving who I want to be anymore. It's time now for me to quit smoking. I really have to stop drinking alcohol. You know what? I'm tired of being in the same job and being too shy to stand up in the boardroom or ask for a promotion. I'm sick and tired of not being able to go on a vacation with my spouse because I'm afraid to fly on airplanes. You've come to a point where you've said enough. So now what you're doing is you're saying, okay, I want to make a change. So it's not about, again, making this change where you don't want to be exactly that person anymore. It's just that it's time to sort of release the real you. It's release what it is. So the version of you that's a non-smoker, the version of you that is now confident when you're speaking in public, the version of you, because I work with both professional and amateur athletes, the person who is now on the golf course or on the rink or the tennis court or whatever, but you're in the zone focusing, and that little monkey mind, that little devil on your shoulder, I call it, isn't constantly yakking at you. So you're thinking about 3 plays ago and you keep messing up because you're too busy back there, or you're getting thrown off by the other players yelling at you or whatever. You're just able to focus and do what it is that you need to do. So it's more, I would say, about enhancing who it is that you want to be. I don't want to say becoming a better version of you, because then that gives the idea that there's something wrong with you. And that just doesn't resonate with me. It's just more about saying, look, I want to become an enhanced version. I want to become healthier. I want to become more motivated. I want to work on my performance issues. I want to, break this habit or learn to sleep better or not be so stressed about so many things, because all of these things, as I say, that's all in our subconscious mind. That's where all this garbage is stored. And so it's about learning how to do that.
Gotcha. You
Mm-hmm.
talked a little bit about, which I think is really cool, of the reason somebody would go to get hypnosis.
Mm-hmm.
And you talked a lot about maybe because there's something that you don't like about your life that you want to improve. Or you also talked about like an athlete that wants to get better.
Sure.
Is most of your business, or most of when people come, is because they don't like something about who they are, or is it a pretty good mix of, hey, I want to go. I just think of like me right now, and at nighttime I listen to, I think it's Napoleon Hill. You get into your subconscious mind, as you while you sleep type stuff, because I want to be a better person. I'm not thinking about trying to get rid of my habits. I'm trying to think of new ones. How does that work? And is one faster than the other? Is it easier, the addictions and fear, to get rid of that than it is to get rid of, or to enhance?
It's a really, no one's ever asked me that, which one's faster. So I think that if you go and research hypnosis online or hypnotherapy online, whatever, you'll see that the most common ones are quitting smoking and losing weight. That seems to be the biggest one, but it is expanded so
Okay.
far from there. I'm not going to say that one is necessarily different. When a client is motivated, and the only reason they're there, the primary reason they're there is because they want to. They're not just there to get their best friend off their back, to get over their fear of flying, so they can go off on that bachelor party or something like that. They actually, well, that can be a reason, but the real reason is because they want to. When you're motivated, it's quite amazing what you can get done. And with hypnosis, it's all natural. There's no drugs, there's no needles, there's no injections. It's just, you're just doing this all naturally. It's a good question. Weight loss is a slower process, and that's more too because of the way I was trained in it and also my philosophy of it. I believe that weight loss should be a slow burn and something that is sustainable long after the
Yeah.
program's done. So, and people will notice the changes, which happens faster at different times. Smoking, yes, smoking is generally one of the fastest programs. And don't just read what's on my site or reviews or whatever. Read online. People who use hypnosis to quit smoking, it in most cases is very fast. Again, results vary. Every client's different, but it can be extremely fast. Weight loss can be a little bit longer. Performance stuff, it can vary. This is why when a client first contacts me, the first thing we do is we have a chat, 4 or 5 minutes. Where'd you get my name from? Were you referred? I just want to know if you referred to me. And secondly, what is it you're trying to do? Well, Jason, I need to quit smoking. I got to lose weight and I really want to work on my stress level. I'm saying, okay, look, many clients will come to me for an issue and then they'll sign up for a different issue after they finish that program. I say, but let's start with one. What's the priority that you want to work on? In that case, they may say, gotta quit smoking. Okay, that's what we're going to start on. And then I do a free screening, a free consultation with every client to make sure that, hypnosis is going to work for them and to make sure I can actually take them on as a client. So they'll notice changes at different times. The weight loss, I'll tell you just a very quick story of, I had a client who came to see me for weight loss a few years ago, and he was partway through his program and doing great. He was noticing his changes, his motivation to exercise, his desire not to eat as much food, etc. And he said, so Jason, remember I told you that basically every day before work, I go into the coffee store, whatever. So we have it up here in Canada, Tim Hortons, which I think is in some of the areas of the US. He says, every day I go in, a donut goes with a coffee. Donut goes with a coffee. I go, yeah. He says, well, all this week, I've been going into the Tim Hortons and I see the donuts, but they just look like rocks to me. I mean, I could eat them if I want to. I just don't really care. So I grab a coffee and I go. So I said to him, all right, well, now here's the magic question. Unlike other attempts at doing this in the past, do you feel like you're just, because, people who are trying to lose weight, many will say, oh my God, I want the donut. Oh God, I want the coffee, or I want the cookie or whatever. And they get frustrated. I said, did you feel like you were frustrated or depriving yourself because you didn't take the donut? He goes, not at all. I couldn't have cared less. I said, welcome to hypnosis. So he could eat it if he wants to, but if you don't want to, because you realize it's not really what I need or what I want right now, that to me is natural. That to me makes logical sense as to how to help you deal with your triggers of overeating or junk food or whatever it happens to be. So, as I say, it's a good. Sorry, Brian, I've expanded here a little bit on this, but there isn't really one that I find is necessarily faster, because I may have a client who is seeing me for one thing, but it's taking them longer. And that will actually bring up a question maybe you're going to ask me. I'm going to read your mind as to what would make somebody not as susceptible to hypnosis, or not as finding the program working for them as fast, and those that are resisting too much. I think that you would agree, and even in your business, those that are sort of not letting you do your job, not letting you sort of run the room and do what needs to be done, and they're just trying to run it and still fighting it. I think that those ones take longer to get to work. Those who are more sort of open to say, look, I'm here to relax. I'm here to sort of work on my subconscious mind, and are just more open to the possibilities. I think that they notice faster, more consistent results.
I'm so glad you kind of walked me through that, because as I'm thinking, as I've been coaching track and field for last 39 years, and I finally just retired from doing it. And one of the things that I think could have helped athletes is, some of the things that you're talking about. But one of the things that folks or the athletes that I worked with always wanted was these huge changes, and I'd say, well, to me, coaching is more about what I say to you, and when we talk about and what I'm going on in your mind, because what I guess folks don't realize is only so much talent, right? I mean, I can't make you the fastest man in the world if your body isn't going to allow you to be the fastest man in the world. I can't make you faster this month if you haven't gone into the weight room and done some stuff to increase your muscle mass and pull down some lean stuff. Now, maybe the hypnosis or the mind stuff could help you maybe enjoy the time in the gym doing the work you're supposed to, or actually go to the gym and do the extra work you're supposed to. But there's still part of our bodies that may or may not be capable at this amount of time or ever. If you're 5'6", you're probably not going to be in the NBA, and it doesn't matter how much hypnosis you can do on somebody, they're not going to be in the NBA, right? And so when you're working with, I think I can see something like smoking, that's like a habit that you created, and we're just getting rid of the habit that you have. Mm-hmm. It's not that your body's not capable of not smoking, and so, or take longer because you have to do something with your body maybe in order for it not to smoke anymore. Am I kind of on the right track here?
For sure. I mean, look, we were all born as non-smokers. Mm-hmm. Okay, you weren't born as a smoker, and the way that I've experienced it over the years is that, yes, they are, in the case of smoking, yes, it is addictive, absolutely. But if they were that addictive, every single person on this planet, including newborn babies, would be smoking. So a lot of it is yes, dealing with the habit, and it's the triggers. Ask a smoker why they smoke. They'll all tell you it is one, some, or all of stress, boredom, habit, coffee, alcohol, when I'm driving, when I'm on the phone, while I'm celebrating with my friends. It's all the same stuff. The same. You're not a smoker, are you, Brian?
No, I've never smoked, ever.
Me neither.
So, me
neither. So you have all these triggers, but we just process them differently. So we basically are learning a habit earlier on to cope with something, or because we want to fit in, or it's just a peer pressure or whatever. And it's about learning how to, I shall say, manage those triggers in a different way. And some clients, in the case of smoking, will call me a year or two later, say, hey, just wanted to check in, Jason, I'm still not smoking. I think about cigarettes every day, but for the first time in 35 years, I don't give into the habit. I don't give into the triggers or into the temptation. I have other clients who will call me and say, I've never thought about a cigarette again since I met you, and I actually can't stand the smell. I mean, there's no rhyme or reason to how, because we're all different. And you coaching, it's the same thing. We all have, I always say, we all, as coaches and as facilitators and whatever, we all have this little bag of tricks. We all got to sort of reach in and go, what should I use for that client? Ooh, that thing I used on that girl a couple of years ago. And we pull out something that may help. And we're constantly learning and constantly trying to develop and find a way to curve it or to customize it to that person. So that's why I say results vary, because every client truly is different. Every human is different. Look, one of my areas of specialty, and you and I discuss this, is when we talk about performance anxiety, whether it's on the golf course or the tennis court or in the boardroom, in the bedroom. One of my areas of specialty is men's sexual dysfunction, erectile dysfunction, premature ejaculation, etc. It's a performance anxiety. So, because again, with the men that I've worked with on this, in the vast majority of cases, there's nothing physically wrong with them. It's just all up here. They know that they can perform, but once they get with their partner, everything just shuts down and they're not able to do it. And it's ruining their marriages or relationships, their ability to go out and date or whatever. And even if I do have a client who does, in the rare case, have something physiologically going on, there's going to be a psychological component, and that's where the hypnosis can help. And in those cases too, it's, again, how long does that take for them to achieve what they want? Some of them, it's really fast, because a big part of this, I mean, gosh, Brian, I'm sure that you have this with your people you work with as well. It's just so much of it is just getting them out of their heads. We get into our heads so much, and it sabotages what we do or don't do with our lives in terms of our professional, our personal lives, our romantic lives, and can really mess things up. So this is a lot about getting people to just stop being 7 steps ahead. Just join me here on step number 1, so we can at least work on that and then start our next steps as we move forward. So again, just depending on what it is that they want to achieve, because I don't know, everyone just, we're always looking for something different. We're always looking to improve ourselves or break a habit or get over, something. But you're only going to do it when you're ready. Yeah. So, go ahead.
The world we have has changed since you and I were kids. I'm probably a little bit older than you, but still, I grew up in this analog world. Yes. And then it turned into a digital world.
Yeah.
And now I think about the people that are part of society, and there's this major comparison that I don't know if we had. We compared, but we only had a neighborhood of kids to compare to, right? We didn't have the whole world that we kind of judged our life. I mean, we see these social media posts, and we see that all these folks are going, well, if he could do it, or he could do it, or he looks like this, and he looks like that, and I should look like this. And we just have
everyone's life is better than yours in social media, right?
Yeah, but we don't see that they're just showing us their best life. They're not showing us all the other things that they go through and the stress and the anxiety. And somehow we interpret that as 24/7, that they're that person, because they made up this video or whatever that it is. And I can imagine the things that for younger folks today that they're having to deal with, or the stress that they're going through. A lot of it is created just because of this comparison thing, or just because we're trying to, let me talk to me a little bit about how you're able to help folks through some of this.
Look, I love my phone, but this will be the downfall of society. I always jokingly say our brains are not meant to process what these phones are able to do in such a short amount of time. 15, 20 years, what they can do is off the charts. I mean, do you remember, Brian, we were kids, we sitting around the dinner table and we'd ask a question about, what was it that thing happened in such and such a country, whatever. Okay. And you'd go and make a note in your book to go into the library at school on Monday morning and using the Dewey Decimal System and the cards to look it up. Now it's just like, hang on a minute. And you just pull out your phone and it's instant answer, which on the one hand can be amazing. But on the downside, we're not using this anymore. Mm-hmm. We're not using the brain. So for myself, what I am seeing is especially since the pandemic, a massive increase in the amount of clients that are coming to see me for motivation, confidence, and stress and anxiety issues off the charts. Because what we're seeing on social media, the news and all that, it is not helping us for any of those issues. It's actually exacerbating. It's making it so much worse. So yeah, as kids, I mean, there's always school bullies and comparing this and whatever, but go and ask someone about 20, 25 years older than us, etc. I was speaking to a family friend who's, I guess she's about 75, 80, about this. And I said, every generation, I think, talks about, oh, when I was a kid, we didn't used to do this. And it's, the joke I like to say is when Elvis Presley was on the Ed Sullivan show, which was an old talk show, sort of like Jimmy Fallon right now, they couldn't frame him below the waist because his gyrating hips were considered too sexual. Did you know that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I did know that.
Yeah, but what shocks people going, that's too sexual, but so all these things change. So I was asking this person who's older than me, said, look, of all the things that you talk about over the generations and growing up for the past 80 years, and now when you speak to your husband and you're just chatting about what you've just seen on the news, would you say that this is just another generational thing or this is even worse? And she said, it is way worse than anything in my 80 years of being alive. She says, what's going on now with social media and people just losing their minds and stuff in the world and politics and religion, whatever it is that you want to complain about, whatever your issue is. She says, it's crazy. It's just crazy. So now, I mean, Brian, your and my brains have developed. Sort of. But you take a little kid who this is what they see and what's going on. So I will do hypnosis on kids sometimes, but not too young because their ability to focus just isn't necessarily there all the time. They can't sort of focus on relaxing. But what people are experiencing now, it's so much different than you and I grew up. And I know every generation says that, but it truly is so much different. But I think what's different as well is what's happening to our brains because we're not using them in the same way. And that is a problem. We're not figuring stuff out. That, I think, is a problem.
Well, and I don't know if we know how to cope with emotions. When I think about the tremendous amount of emotions that are on overload or I'm shutting down because we're being bombarded so much by information and whether it's true or false, because let's say because of the algorithms, we're fed one side of a story, and all of a sudden our reality might jump into the other side of the story, and we're just like, oh my God, what just happened? I don't know how to handle it. And I talk to some people sometimes and they're like, I can't do this. They shut down on me. Because they can't handle the overload of information because we're not meant to process this much information. I can't solve problems in Israel, when I got my problems in my own backyard. And yet they want to show me Israel all day long, every day. And there's nothing I can do about it.
I know.
Other than just put it in my brain and know that it's there.
And that is one of the things that I work on with a lot of my clients. One of the first things is put your phone down. In some cases, for the next 2 weeks, I know it's going to kill you, but I want you to delete social media. Let me know how you're doing. And let me tell you, Brian, more often than not, there's a massive change in people's anxiety levels. So when I talk to them about, if I gave them, because I also coach them as well, right? So if I'm working with them and saying, okay, what goals are we going to get for this week or whatever, and they come back the next week, they didn't really do them. And I'm saying, okay, well, I've been really busy and working. Yes, I understand. Life gets in the way. I said, are you on your phone? Yes. Do you go through social media? Yes. Do you, what I call it, the doom scrolling? Yes. How often do you think you're on social media a day? I said, total. I said, I don't know, half an hour, 45 minutes. I said, okay, for this next week, I want you to time yourself. I want you to set timers, whatever you do on your phone, an app, whatever. Let me know what it's like next week. They always go, 3 hours. My God, Jason, 3 hours. What am I doing? I said, 3 hours a day. There you go. You didn't even know. So that's how it addresses the brain. We're just, as I say, not meant to process that. I mean, I don't know what it's like for the schools in the US, but here, a lot of the schools, they've taken out cursive writing out of the curriculum because some genius in the board of education or minister or whatever decided that, well, that's something to take out because that doesn't build a mind-body connection by firing synapses together to learn how to write. it's one of the strongest things to do. So typing, yes, and trust me, my handwriting is not very good, so I do prefer to type, but there's something different about changing the state and what you do physically and to your brain when you're actually writing. As I say, the phone, it's just, we're not meant to process this. It's too much. My daughter, when I watch her do homework, my son, when I used to watch him do homework, it's the same thing. Like, they're watching something, they're doing their homework, they're watching. I don't know about you, but to me, up in your room, doors closed, no music, no television, you finish your homework. That's how we had to learn. And now it's they're down at the kitchen table, they're watching this and doing whatever. It's just, it's different. As I say, like I'm starting to sound like I'm starting to sound like my grandparents when I was a kid, but there is something different. So for when the hypnosis comes in, it's because a lot of this is, as I say, just sort of, I'm just trying to get people centered, get them into the eye of the storm, get out of that sort of craziness of the news, of life, of crime, of whatever we're seeing on the news, all this crazy stuff, and just getting them to breathe and let go of some of this nonsense, And it's tough for some people. It is, but we can do it.
And this will be as we, start to wind down a little bit, but when I think about relationships and how important relationships are, this dialogue that we're having, even though we're using the technology to have this dialogue, neither one of us for the last hour have touched our phones. Neither one of us have not been totally present. That's what I love about podcasts, is because we can be 100% present with the person that we're talking to for an hour at a time, and the relationship gets built. And so many of our younger folks who are kids have no clue about relationship or what it means, or they would rather, hey, they're in a restaurant texting each other and they're sitting across the table
across from each other.
Because, it's just, how does hypnosis, or do you talk about relationships, or as you're getting, helping them go through things, that the importance of replacing what they were spending time on, maybe, on smoking or drinking or whatever else, on relationships or other things that can
it's huge. When you take somebody who smokes, whatever, let's say a pack a day. So, 20 cigarettes a day, let's say, and from the moment that they grab the pack of cigarettes, they walk outside, they have a cigarette, and they butt out and they're done, and they come back in. Let's say it's about 7 minutes. And most cigarettes, let's say, okay, so 7 minutes times 20, it's 140. That's more than 2 hours a day, almost 2.5 hours a day of found time. What do I do, Jason? Anything. Do anything. Go talk to your spouse. Go read a book. Go for a walk. Have some water. Just meditate. Go get that homework done that you're trying to do. Whatever it is, there's so many things. So I don't say that it's so much that we spend too much time on our phone. I call it bleeding, because we don't get it back. We're bleeding that time off. And listen, we all need entertainment. We all want to watch the silly videos of people sliding on the ice and watching ducks walk or so. That's entertainment. That's fine, but in moderation. And what's happening is it's too far. And the kids, as you say, it's gone too far, I think. And hopefully it will be swinging back a little bit. So when I'm working with clients, it's about getting back to that relationship, starting with themselves, but then the relationship at work, speaking to their kids again. And so what a lot of clients will say is that they're noticing, as they're going through the program with me, whatever issue they're coming to do, is that they're actually getting along with their partner better. Or maybe they've gotten the courage now to kick that partner out, or ask that new person out, or they're getting along with their kids better. They're not yelling at people in traffic anymore. They're sleeping better because they're just starting to, I'm exaggerating here, they're not walking around like this now all the time. They're starting to do this and go, oh, those are my shoulders. Okay, I'm seeing this sort of thing. And that's about just letting go of control, because we're all control freaks and overthinkers in our own way. And a big part of that is just letting that go. Just, getting into a different sort of go with the flow phase instead of just keep fighting it.
Wow, Jason, this has been so enlightening, incredible. The conversations that you get to have, that you same kind of thought process, and are just so fun. And I can tell you're incredibly good at what you do.
Thanks,
What didn't we talk about that you want to make sure we talk about? We got about 7 or 8 minutes left, and just wanted to.
Um, just say, you know what? If someone is curious about hypnosis, to absolutely reach out to me, reach out to another hypnotist. And it's not that you can't get other tools. Look, I have clients that come to see me. They still take their medication. They still have a therapist. They still meditate, do mindfulness, go to the gym. These are all just tools. Hypnosis is a tool. It's a natural tool. It's, again, it's all done naturally because it's done within inside of our head. You can use one of those tools. You can use some of them. You can switch them around. So it's basically, if you are finding that you're stuck, if you're finding that I really shouldn't be doing that habit, I don't know why I keep doing it. I really know that I should be more confident. I could be getting a better job. Why am I afraid of snakes? I've hardly ever seen a snake in my life. Whatever it happens to be, that there is help for this. And that, exploring the idea of hypnosis, and again, it's 100% safe. You are not going to, it's not mind control. And certainly you can contact me or contact a local hypnotist, or if you're not local to me, do on video, but to explore it, there is help out there. But at the end of the day, Brian, we all need help. We all need help. Even the top celebrities, even the top politicians, religious leaders, we all have advisors. We all need help. And this is just reaching out to find some help, because if you're not satisfied with how you are living or existing, it isn't serving you anymore, then it's really just make a change. But you got to take that step. You've got to take that step to do it, and it can change your life. It can change or enhance your life, shall I say? But it's taking that step, and you'll do it when you're ready. That's the other thing too, Brian. Right? They're not forced to it. They have to do it when they're ready.
They have to do it. Yeah, they have to reach out and say, there's not somebody who's walking around just hypnotizing people, out of the blue. That and designing their world, hypnotizing everybody around them. That might be a movie, or that might be a screenplay that you saw.
Right.
Oh my God. Yeah, Jason, this has been such an incredible time, like I said before. And when you can tell that, or a person can say, I'm not getting out of life everything that I want to. Mm-hmm. And I know there's just something that if I could just, get to this point, and sometimes we don't know how, and it's so worth to call somebody, because if somebody like you could probably even explore different options that could help me move to that next level. I think there's so many people that get stuck, and they just say, well, I guess this is what life is dealt me. And I don't want you to say that. I don't want you to say this is what life dealt me, because there is so much life for all of us to be able to live. And there are people like Jason who are out there that can help you begin to live that life. So I'm going to encourage you right now to reach out, to go to his website. What is your website? I don't know if you said it or not, but
so it's Greater Toronto Hypnosis.com. And hypnosis is HYP, not HIP. So GreaterTorontoHypnosis.com is my website. You can email me there. There's a contact form on the page. You can phone me. You can WhatsApp me. There's a WhatsApp button there to WhatsApp me. So to reach out.
So they don't have any excuses. Plus, your name is right on the bottom of the screen underneath you.
Yes,
so
Greater Toronto Hypnosis Centre, and it's R. That's right. It's RE because it's Canadian. That's how Canadian, I think, in the UK they spell it too. So, but it's Greater Toronto Hypnosis Centre, but the website is GreaterTorontoHypnosis.com.
Love it, love it, love it. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to spend more time and get to know you a little bit better. And maybe we come back and we'll do another show or something where we're just going through some of the steps or some of the things that somebody would come in and do. And so it has been, like I said, just phenomenal to just be able to get to know you and talk to you a little bit. And I hope the folks that are watching will absolutely reach out. And you said you do a free consultation. So it's not like it's going to cost them anything.
Correct.
To be able to
no obligation. It's about 45 minutes to an hour. They're going to learn some stuff about hypnosis. I'm going to learn some stuff about them. They're going to be vetting me, got to be comfortable with me, right? And if at the end of it, I think that they're going to be a good candidate for hypnosis, I say, look, here's what I suggest for a program, for price. If you're interested, great. Sign up. Let's get started. If you're not interested, no obligation. Didn't cost you a penny. Absolutely free.
Yeah. Hey, do you have any other final thought for us today before we end the show?
I think that this is just amazing. I'm trying to do more of these and just talk to people, and it's just quite interesting to meet others. I think at the end of the day, I always say we're never fully cooked, we're always cooking. And
Oh,
there's just different ways to try and do these stuff. And there's no right, there's no wrong. It's just try, and you just have to do that. But I'm not a huge sports fan, but I love the expression: you can't steal second base with your foot still on first. You have to take the step off to
yeah.
do that. And there is help out there, and there's no shame in it. There's no shame in it, because that's what everyone thinks, that the celebrities and the politicians and the religious and all these wealthy people, they all have a perfect life. No, they don't. Nobody knows what goes on behind closed doors. Trust me, nobody knows. Everybody has advisors. Everybody has help. Everybody has things that they need to do and different tools. So it just if your life is short, enjoy it and try and find the help and the stuff that you need to do to help you just sort of fulfill yourself, be more present.
Oh man, thank you. Hey, this is your first show and this is the first one you've seen. I encourage you to go ahead and hit the notification button and hit the subscribe button, because there's just some amazing guests that we get to have on, and you can see the caliber of the folks that we have on every time. And Jason has not disappointed, everything that I would expect it to be. I believe that you're God's greatest gift, and He loves you if you allow Him to. I also believe that you, my friend, are born for greatness. And so let that greatness jump out on people. And if it takes you getting, seeing somebody that can help you with the hypnosis part of it to get rid of some of those addictions, or to help you perform better in whatever it is that you try and perform, go ahead and give Jason a call. We'll look forward to talking to you guys on the next one. And you have an amazing, awesome, incredible, awestruck day today. We'll talk to you soon.